Welcome to another Caroline Glick Show. On August 1st, 2014, under pressure from the Obama administration, Israel agreed to a humanitarian ceasefire. We were in the midst, we were really at the height of Operation Protective Edge, our 50-day war against Hamas in 2014 that was precipitated by the kidnapping and murder of 3 teenage boys in Gush Etzion. That then precipitated a massive missile onslaught by Hamas from Gaza and a subsequent IDF ground offensive into the Gaza Strip. And again, there was tremendous pressure from the Obama administration throughout for Israel to curtail its military operations, to limit its operations in order to prevent humanitarian crises and all of the rest of it. And based on that, U.S. pressure on August 1st, 2014, the Netanyahu government agreed to a humanitarian ceasefire. And there were Givati forces who were on the ground in Gaza. One particular unit was led by a young lieutenant named Hadar Goldin. And he had located, a terror tunnel. And at any rate, he and his forces were attacked by Hamas terrorists from this terror tunnel, and he was apparently killed and his body was snatched on August 1st, 2014 during the humanitarian pause, ceasefire, to prevent a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions in Gaza. And the war went on for a few more days after that, but since then, Hadar Goldin, now Captain Hadar Goldin, has been missing and presumed dead, along with another soldier from the Golani Brigade named Oron Shaul, whose body was snatched in the northern Gaza Strip at the outset of Protective Edge. So since 2014, we've had 2 IDF soldiers, Officer Captain Hadar Goldin and Sergeant Oron Shaul, whose bodies have not been recovered by their families. They have not been buried. Since October 7th slaughter, the Goldin family, who has been active for the past 9 years to try to get their son home, along with Oron Shaul, has had a certain perspective on how best to bring Hadar and Oron home, and that hasn't been listened to by consecutive Israeli governments, and basically to make no concessions to Hamas whatsoever of any kind, nothing in, nothing out of Gaza until we receive the remains of our soldiers. And they were not listened to. And now the Goldin family, parents, Leah and Simcha Goldin, and Hadar's brothers, are very active in working with now 244 families of kidnapped Israelis who were snatched to Gaza on October 7th during the slaughter. And I wanted to talk about what the plight is of the Israeli hostages with somebody who really understands it well. And so I'm very happy today to be talking to Hemi Goldin, Hadar Goldin's older brother. He's an attorney here in Jerusalem, and thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's my privilege. So can you tell me a little bit, first of all, about 2014, 2023? How has your family viewed your plight over the years, across the years, and how now looking at the situation, but before October 7th, when you thought about Hadar and Oron Shaul, what did you think that the proper response that Israel should have, and how were you treated by the international community and also by the Israeli leadership when you were making your demands?
So my brother was kidnapped in 2014. It's almost 10 years ago, during a ceasefire. And I think that what we've learned then is that Israel might cease its fire, but Hamas doesn't. In our perspective, there's no difference between Hamas or ISIS. And the fact that they kidnap people makes them a terrorist organization and not a part of the international society. And we've been around the world, and I think that's what we've learned, that the deeds of Hamas is not that they break the laws of war. They break the very basic humanitarian law that is the foundation of human society. So what we've learned then and what we saw then is that actually my brother was told, now it's the time to cease your fire. And in response, he was kidnapped. So we've learned how Hamas works. They don't want to have peace, not for their people, not with us. They want war, they want terrorism, and they want to kidnap people. So it's been 10 years since then. And I think that what we called out is, we said basically, listen, if you want any respect from a terrorist organization, the first thing they should do, and I think it's a very Jewish thing, is not just to apologize or to think ahead, is to bring back my brother or one who were kidnapped. Unfortunately, I think throughout all those years, there has been many donations, money, even a release of prisoners, of terrorist prisoners here in Israel to Hamas. And we as a family called out and we said a very simple thing. If you not ask those who are kidnapped in advance, not only, me and my family would be in total misery, but unfortunately, there are going to be many more. And throughout the years, there were 2 more civilians that were kidnapped to Gaza. And then we said, we started at 2. Now we are 4. It's going to be more. I never imagined that in 2023, our family of victims of the Israeli ISIS, let's put it this way, would be 244 people, among them children, civilians who in Israel, our army is built on civilians. So 5 minutes earlier, they were civilians, women, children, elderly, disabled people. So I think that's our perspective. And what we told to the families and what we call out is that to Israel and to international society, international community, to understand there is no ceasefire. Us as Israel, us as international community, we know to cease our fire. Hamas, they don't. They seize the moment and they kidnap and they do the most brutal things on earth. So I think that now, and that's what we told the families, and that's what we call our government, and that's what we say to the international community, there is no ceasefire, no agreement, no nothing before the very basic thing that any humanitarian society needs is to bring that back all the hostages, my brother and all the rest.
So I've always had an extraordinary amount of respect for your family because, I remember I even had an early conversation, I think, with your mother. I don't know when, maybe 2015, 2016, after this happened. I had been very concerned from a national perspective when Hadar and Wanshoa were kidnapped because we had just experienced in 2011 a complete collapse of strategic rationality when, in exchange for Gilad Shalit, who had been kidnapped to another IDF soldier who had been kidnapped to Gaza, we had gone there, I think, in 1 or 2 or 3 wars already, rounds of fighting with Hamas. And each time we sent our forces in and they came back without Gilad Shalit. And then in 2011, we agreed to the swap, where we released 1,028 terrorists from our jails. 280 of them were murderers in exchange for Gilad Shalit. So when your brother and Oron Shaul were taken, I was afraid that your parents were going to demand that we give up more terrorists, and yet they came in with the exact opposite response. Did they have an initial instinct of say, okay, just do another Gilad Shalit and get our son back, or was it from the beginning you just looked at it in a different way?
We've been through the worst school ever in our lives, my family and I, the school of terrorism. And in that school, what you need to learn is that you need to be active. Because there is this notion that if you would keep silent or you would be pleasant, then everything is going to be okay. People, it's a lot of cases like with victims. It could be any sort of victims, and they said, okay, if I'll be quiet, if I will just stay away,
keep my head down,
it would go away, And it's the same if a woman gets slapped by a man, and it's the same if our country is getting slapped with Hamas. You need to be active. And what happened throughout those 10 years, and people need to know, is that there were no real fight to get neither Gilad Shalit nor anyone else. Nor was there a fight to do anything really meaningful to Hamas.
You mean a fight, a military fight?
And what is more, there has been a swap. Because if you don't act throughout those years, prisoners here in Israel, terrorist prisoners, were released. Among those years, we counted more than 700 or 800 since
2014.
Yes. So,
and the government's response, though, is, look, they've served their term. I mean, we let them out because they were sentenced for 20 years, and they served 20 years, and there they go back to Gaza.
So, as a citizen of the state, I don't want to hear excuses.
Mm-hmm.
And after everything that had happened now, and yes, there are 244 now, you say there might be more that are kidnapped. There are thousands that were brutally murdered. We're still in there. There are people dying every day. There are missiles launched this very moment, both from the south and from the north. So,
just to say, a civilian was killed in Kiryat Shmona from an anti-tank missile last night.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, it's not going to stop. No. When you talk about terrorist organizations, you talk their ability to control Gaza is by being the villains. So the worst thing possible for them is to become the saints. No, we live in a democratic state. I mean, we have a totally different set of rules. They don't. The minute they become saints, it's the minute they will lose their power. Their power is driven from the fact that they kill, that they kidnap, they shoot, that they send missiles. That's what they do.
They torture.
They torture, and all the rest of things. So so in the terrible school I've been through of the Israeli ISIS, Hamas, that's the main goal now, to bring everyone back. And to act about it.
Right. So, okay. So your parents, and I assume you as well, since October 7th, have been really trying to do their best to organize and assist the families that are now newly joined to your plight. How are they help? What are you doing? How are you engaged? What is your engagement involving?
Look, it was Simchat Torah, and my parents were at my place in Jerusalem when the sirens went off, and it was Simchat Torah. It's like Shabbat, so you don't have any phones, so it was a complete surprise. And we went down the stairs. I mean, we don't have a safe place in my building whatsoever. So we just went down the stairs and spent there with all the families of the building. So that's how it started. And immediately we opened our phones, and my brother Tzur, who is the twin brother of Hadar, who also served at that time, he was also called on Miluim, on reserve. So he was called to the north. My sister's husband was also called to the north. Her son was called to the south. And and when they went away, the first thing I remember Sue saying and my sister saying is that we are going on reserve, we're going to fight this war. But who is going to help those families? And listen, we've been down the south for many years and they've been helping us because they knew what's wrong there and the fact that they have no protection. So at the beginning we thought, okay, maybe there are people killed. Then you hear about people being kidnapped. So you say, maybe two, maybe. So then we decided to do two things. First of all, to call out all the families that are there, either missing or kidnapped. We established with an organization called the Psagot, who give emotional help and psychological help for every family to have someone to talk to. And every day at the first week, we did a Zoom, in the modern days to all the families, to talk to them and to put their heads high and to tell them that now it's time to act. And then we didn't know that it's going to be hundreds. Soon enough, we got the list about missings and kidnapped, and there were hundreds. I think the list at the first it became like 600 or something. A lot of them are now, unfortunately, without the deceased is dead.
And some were thought
it was very clear. It was very clear that this is total breakdown. And soon enough, there was a campaign going on about the hostages. We went to the government and that they established because they didn't even know who was missing, who was kidnapped. So we also handed the list. And ever since then, we've been accompanying them and fighting our shared fight.
There seems to be
bring the kidnapped back home.
There seems to be some sort of a split, though, at least as it's broadcast in the media, between, I don't know if you'd call them two groups, but anyway, two voices that are coming out in the name of the kidnapped families. One is saying, open up the prisons and let everybody out. And it's all, in one case, it's all Prime Minister Netanyahu's fault. And the other one's saying, don't stop fighting, keep fighting. The only way that we can get them out is by fighting. So there seem to be, are there two camps of hostages' families? What's happening?
Look, when that happened, we went to the families, and I think
what happened?
As I told, we are fed up with excuses. Yes, whether it's a prime minister or people from the army or anyone else. It's very certain that the people that led us throughout those 10 years are the people that are responsible for the situation now. So, unfortunately, yes, they tried to split us up, to do in the media, and, you're part of it. So, a conflict is always nice on media. But being part of the families, I think that the main message is, first, you need to bring them back. It's not up to the people who lost their dear ones, or their dear ones are somewhere in Gaza, to decide on the operation or to take responsibility for any sort of operation, whether you do an agreement or a fight or whatever. And secondly, yes, I think that what people are saying now, we don't care. They need to be back. And you should have no ceasefire, no agreement, no nothing. Around the world, people bring back those who are kidnapped and continue with the fight. We know the United States and Iran, no one is saying, oh, you know what, first of all, a ceasefire, we stop doing everything we do and then bring us back those who are kidnapped. No, there isn't a peace agreement between, the United States and Iran or whatever place they have. No, they say that's the main thing. That's what makes us human. Bring us back our people. And then we can keep on fighting because that's what we do. Somehow in Israel, I don't know, things got a bit turned around. So I think that what the families are actually saying is don't put that conflict, which is a very big conflict, on us. That's not our responsibility that our dear ones are in Gaza. You need to bring them all back. Do whatever it takes. And if you're not able to do it by operation, you need to do whatever you can. Because if not, they're going to stay there. So I don't think it's on the media, things need to be simple. And they need to have a conflict and they need to be interesting. But among the families, we all share a horrible, horrible, horrible fate together. So I don't think there is a dispute among us or any sort of clash. But media needs what media needs.
You're not going to get anybody arguing here at JNS. We exist because the media lies. But I think, it's such an unimaginable agony for the families. I saw today, I posted it on Twitter that Emily Hand, the 8-year-old daughter of father, British Israeli, who was interviewed by CNN, and it was really heart rending when she was declared dead after October 7th, and he said he was so relieved to discover that she hadn't been kidnapped. And then today, incredibly, the IDF said that they had misidentified her as dead and that they believe now that she is kidnapped and hostage in Gaza, this beautiful little 8-year-old girl. And, what's going through his heart is unspeakable. And, are you able to give them hope? Do you feel like your family is capable of, you guys are succeeding in helping people?
Look, my brother is Hadar. His ringtone, is that how you say it, on his phone?
Yeah, the ringtone.
Yeah, his ringtone was a song in Israel, a very well-known song about Operation Entebbe. And it's called El Eretz Zvi. Operation led by the brother of Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoni Netanyahu. There was a plane full of people, I don't know how many, that was kidnapped, and they went all the way to Uganda, and they were all brought back from the corners of the earth. So I am a third generation to the Holocaust. And my grandmother used to say that as Jews, we don't have the privilege of giving up. So ask me if we have hope. That's what we have, to be very honest. And we've managed to do a lot as a nation with that hope.
Indeed.
And I think that what the most frightening thing to a terrorist organization is people who have hope. People in Gaza, they have a terrorist organization. They don't have hope. They will never have hope. What we stand for here is hope. And it worked before. That's what we have. And we need to believe in ourselves. If we don't believe in ourselves, they're going to be, all the kidnapped people are going to be stuck in Gaza. And that's exactly what Hamas wants. So I have a lot of hope. My brother had hope. He went to fight and he put his life in threat out of hope to fight for all the people that, I'm alive because my brother had hope. So yes, there is hope. No one should neglect that thing that's called hope. That's what's keeping us, and it's very strong. It's something that our enemies, they don't.
Beautiful. What do you say to the world? I know that your parents have been to the UN at least, I don't know how many times, and met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who just, he gave this incredibly appalling speech just a couple of weeks ago at the Security Council, where he said that we have to see the slaughter and the kidnapping in context of the occupation. And, we had Barack Obama saying something very similar around the same time, and, on and on and on. And hundreds of thousands of people, there's supposed to be 1 million people in London next weekend rallying for Hamas. What do you say to the world? I mean, as Hadar Goldin's brother, as an Israeli Jew, I mean, what when you look at that, what do you want to say to these people?
So, I've met the Pope this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes. So, and I don't think he made excuses for Hamas. There's no excuse. So,
What did he say?
so, well, back then we were only 4 of us, civilians, and he said that obviously if someone is kidnapped, he's alive, you should bring him back. But even if someone is dead, and sadly, as I say this, there might be people dead or they're going to be killed. He said that also in Christianity, one of the main values is for a mother to bury her child. So I'm Jewish. But I think that if we as Jews are saying that, and the Pope preventing a mother from burying her child or having him back is religiously outspoken. So I'm putting this out to anyone out there who's saying, I'm a Jew, so maybe I can't relate to Judaism. But you know what? You can listen to the Pope and what he said. And about the international community, I'll say this, and I'll say this to my government, and then I'll speak to the people who are supporting Hamas. I don't know what they're supporting. Golda Meir, our Prime Minister at the Yom Kippur War, horrible war, told she actually seized the Egyptian army. And she said to the international community, we are not stopping this fighting. We're not giving anything until everyone is back in Israel. And I think that also the world is looking for a leader to say the same words. I don't think that anyone in the United States will expect is president to say, well, your brother was kidnapped, but, we should be peaceful about that. Maybe the family of those who kidnapped your brother, maybe we're going to hurt them in some way. So, you know what? Give up. I'm saying to those people, imagine a day where in Paris or London, and those things have happened. People will be slaughtered in the streets. Again. People will be kidnapped by hundreds. And then someone in your government would say, well, we've been donating and given, $100 million to those organizations, and that's what they've done. So you know what? Let's forgive them. Let's be forgiving. Let's give them the other cheek. We're speaking in that. So whoever wants to replace me and to have his brother kidnapped and, is welcome. And I want to hear him say, yes, that's fine. I'm going to give myself to those who hurt me the most. And on a broader scale, also in my family, Israel went out of Gaza, giving the land to the Palestinian Authority. They were also killed by Hamas. What's going on in Gaza with Hamas, it's not just about Israeli. It's about the people there. Does anyone imagine that everything is so peaceful, it's nice in Hamas? That what they're doing to my brother, to all those who were kidnapped, they're not doing to their own people? Of course they do. So when you go up on those rallies, do you support that? Do you support that? Would you like to be a woman in Gaza under Hamas? Would you like to be a man who's opposing Hamas in Gaza? The answer is no. So I'll put it this way. I don't think that the people who rallied there or call out have the slightest idea about what is Hamas, what it's like to live there, what it's like to live in Israel, or what's it's going to be in the place of me. So the only thing I'm saying, you know what? Think how you would like to live or die, or for your family to live or die. As I've said before, what Hamas is doing is not breaking the laws of war. They are breaking the laws of the humanitarian law.
Of civilization.
Of civilization. If you support that, say it out loud. I support the international society and society that would have no humanitarian concern, no humanitarian threat whatsoever, because I support the organization that says that and declares that. So, might be a bit complicated, but that's the truth.
Yeah, you could also just say, more briefly, shame on you, but,
It doesn't work to say shame on you,
No, they
unfortunately.
don't care.
People don't care.
I mean, that's the other thing, too.
But people should care.
They
do care when it comes to their homes and when it comes to their family. So that's what I'm telling them.
Do you feel like, I don't know how to put it. How about just put it at, how much do you and your family have a sense of accomplishment?
First of all, no, because my brother is still there. And I think that we've been silenced, if that's a word, too much over those years. So, but I think that what we have accomplished in the past month is, first of all, for people here and in the international community to know that we are right and they are in Hamas is wrong. And secondly, to take all those families and to make them fight for their loved ones here in Israel and around the world. So, I think we've accomplished that.
Do you feel like today the government here is working with you as opposed to trying to push you away? I mean, because I've seen that delegations, that the Diaspora Affairs Minister, Amichai Shikli, was organizing delegations of the hostages' families to go abroad and speak. And I mean, Gal Hirsch was appointed to be the coordinator for the whole issues. I mean, it feels to me like there is a more of a collaborative effort here. Is that just my wishful thinking, or how do you feel looking at how the government is responding?
At this point of time, when Israel has been conquered by Hamas.
Invaded, we weren't conquered to push them out.
But in fact, we were conquered, then we pushed them out.
Right.
And there were so many hostages out there. I don't need cooperation. I don't need the government to cooperate with me. I need them to bring them all back. That's their responsibility. That's what they need to do now. That's what they're facing with. So, of course, we're offering our help or our understanding of the situation. But what's important for them to understand that they cannot fail. They cannot fail.
But how can they succeed? I mean, I want them so much to succeed. I mean, nobody here can stop thinking about them 24/7. You know, they're on our minds all the time. But they could be anywhere in Gaza. I mean, you know, they even said that Rima Gidesh, who they got out, she was alone. And what happens if all of them are in different places? I mean,
so why are there trucks going in and out of Gaza? Why are people thinking about how to prepaid people in Gaza who should have been working here and not working now? Fuel, ceasefire agreements. I will not be fooled. I'm saying this very bluntly. All those questions are questions that I expect.
What do you mean?
A state,
Which question?
a government. How is it going to be done?
Okay.
That's the reason, the fact that there is a state of Israel. And I'm saying that it's being a third generation of the Holocaust. My grandmothers didn't have graves for their families in Europe. When they came here, and you know, there were auctions all around the world, and they raised us, and they put their sons, their daughters in the army. They did it. So that thing will never happen again. So that's the reason why there is an Israeli government, that there isn't what there is an Israeli state, that there isn't what there is an Israeli army, a minister of foreign affairs, a minister of this and a minister of that. So it's very nice to bring up the questions. That's their responsibility right now. That's what they need to meet. It has been done before. We did it. I can assure you that it was more difficult for Ben Gurion to fight the independent war than right now, or Golda Meir with 4 or 5 armies around her, than the Israeli government with a little terrorist organization in Gaza that consists of, 10,000, 20,000 people. So when people ask me or try to say, can you understand the conflict? I couldn't care less. You are responsible for what happened. You are responsible for bringing them back. You are responsible for making sure it will never happen again. It has been done before. It has been done in a worse situation. And it's going to be there now.
And we have hope.
And we have hope, and you have responsibility. And whoever doesn't fulfill his responsibility, then, you can put in Israel, you say, put your keys and go.
Right.
I don't know what the expression is.
So I think it's the same one.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to ask me these questions, how it's going to be difficult, there is a conflict. Yes, Ben Gurion had the conflict, Golda Meir had the conflict, Yoni Netanyahu had a conflict, and they did their job. If anyone in the Israeli government is not up to the task,
they should leave.
They should leave. Say right now and should leave. There's going to be no excuses. No excuses for anyone, any civilian, soldier, daughter, son, kids, elderly people being in Gaza. That's the end of it. We've been living it for 10 years. So enough is enough. And that's what I'm saying to my government. And by the way, we spoke about the world. That's what I'm saying in the world. Dear world, you're very kind. We're going to bring everyone home, whatever it takes. Because that's who we are.
I agree. I guess we can leave it at that, but your dad did write this article in Tablet magazine that I just wanted to touch on. One of the themes that I found so affecting, and it really has just been reverberating in my brain since I read it a couple of weeks ago, when he was talking about how really we have to rebuild our social compact, that it was really our social contract that was that has been eroded or destroyed or whatever by the fact that we have not brought Hadar or Joel home. And that, it is the responsibility, like you were saying, of the government to bring our boys home. We don't leave men on the battlefield, period. And here, 9 years later, they're still on the battlefield. And, we have to rebuild our moral foundations, that this doesn't happen again, that it's not just a strategic problem, it's a social problem. Do you want to speak to that for a second? Just final comments?
So first of all, I would say you were shocked when I said we were conquered and then we pushed them away.
I wasn't shocked. I can't say it.
Yes. But it's us in Israel, the society in Israel, that stick together. They push them away. And it's the brotherhood we have here as people in Israel that is taking care of hundreds of thousands of people that were forced out of their homes here in Israel. I go around those hotels. I meet the people. People are in sorrow.
People are what?
People are in sorrow. They grieve at a horrible state. But they always say, we have each other to count on. So we spoke about hope. And my brother spoke about this contract. It's possible. But it will only happen if the states, the ministries, the
army,
the government, the politicians, they have a wonderful partner. It's not Hamas.
It's us.
It's us.
They have to be worthy of us.
Exactly. So my father wrote it a week ago, I think. But really, as I've said before, now it's our dear politicians. Now it's up to you. Prove yourself. And the day after, yes, there's a lot of building to do. I mean, also a society, but we have people here that have no home to go back to. I'm not talking about families. There are families that, the wife is a widow, the children have been kidnapped, the uncle was murdered. But we have each other, and hopefully that the state, as we call it, or the ministries or the ministers, will be worthy, and we can start out again. But that's after. First, prove yourself. And I think that's our message. That's the message we tell the families we are with. Put forth, and it's a message of hope. But it's also a message of responsibility.
Hemi Goldin, Israel is very blessed to have the Goldin family. And I'm sorry that we know you because of what happened to you, but I'm glad that we have you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We should all keep that hope and bring them home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.